We are the future and new innovation to the running, walking, and standing industry. We are the difference. The science is in the patented Heelless Technology. The objective of the Heelless shoe is to enhance forefoot landing during physical activities while inhibiting heel strike upon landing, thus minimizing injuries, maximizing performance while retaining comfort. This will result in more runs, more walks, more comfort, more energy, and longevity all in one shoe. Are you ready to join the difference?
Our guest is the CEO and co-founder of an innovative heelless shoe that is disrupting the athletic footwear industry. And what he went through to get this shoe that you just saw prototyped and manufactured is a jaw-dropping startup story. Welcome to the Startup Life Live Show. Let's glow, everyone. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Startup Life Live Show. I'm your host, Ande, Lyons, 4 times founder and startup champion to first-time founders around the world. And during these empowering conversations with these diverse founders, I love sharing the Ande-licious advice, which is core business, startup business, resources and tools and tips that you need to know, all delivered with high enthusiasm, inspiration, and joy. Thank you for tuning in and carving out this time, not only to up your founder game, but to cheer on a fellow founder, right? You know, we love adding wind to other founders' sails and opening doors for them and celebrating everything that they're doing with their startup. And for those of you who are watching now or via the replay, I would be so grateful for your support of the show with a like on the video, wherever you're watching from, and a subscribe if you're watching from YouTube. That would just mean the world to me. And it really supports the show, and it really helps get out and reach more founders who may want to hear these kind of stories and get these kind of tips and tools. So, are you ready for a quick intro of our delicious guest? His name is Olguy Songolo, and he is the CEO of The Difference. You saw the video right there at the beginning. And he's the developer of this Heelless technology. And let me just bring up this wonderful image right here for you to check out, because we're going to be talking about the man in that photo during our conversation today. But this innovative shoe, initially designed by this wonderful man you see here in the photo, Olguy's dad, protects the wearer from pain and injuries caused by landing on one's heels, and it promotes natural forefoot landings for runners and anyone spending the day on their feet. And here's, some more interesting information about the shoe while I go on about Olguy's background, because I got to tell you, no prior experience, everybody, and only 20-year-old sketches as a reference point. Olguy's family invested all their savings and sent him to China to find a manufacturer to create the prototype and produce their one-of-a-kind product. I'm so excited to share this amazing startup story with you and have you meet this phenomenal founder and CEO. Welcome to the show, Olguy.
Hello, hello. How are you?
Hey, as I always play for my guests, everybody, praise you like I should song when I start the show, because it really is an opportunity to put the light on another founder. And Olguy, your story is amazing. And you and I have the good fortune to be in the greater Boston area. And Olguy, everybody, was part of the startup pitch event that I have here in Boston, Founders Live Boston. So I know a little bit more about him, but and the shoe. But I said the minute he pitched, I said, "Oh, please come on the show, because this is phenomenal what you're doing." Anytime someone is disrupting an industry, it's incredible. But you're hailing from the greater Boston area, and I just want to remind everybody, be sure to say hi in the comment threads and follow Olguy and The Difference wherever you're glowing. But also, if you have a business that you would like us to celebrate and showcase live up on the screen, please share it in the comment threads. We'll pull it up as we do and amplify, just like this. If this were you, There we go. We pull it up like this and celebrate. So we love to engage with our viewers. So say hi, let us know where you're hanging from and hailing from. And hey, Stephen, great to see you. Thanks for tuning in. So happy to see you. As you know, we're on the StreamYard platform, folks. So we're streaming live on LinkedIn and YouTube and Facebook and Twitch and Periscope, which again creates a greater reach for us to find folks to share these wonderful stories. Olguy, how's it going today?
I'm well. How are you?
You are all swagged out. Tell us about your hat.
Oh, so yeah, we just actually started coming out with hats. So this is one of the newest ones that we did. It's a Mitchell & Ness hat. So I have a company based out in Indianapolis, and it's a gentleman that I actually met through college, and he started his hat company. Yeah. So I said, hey, you know what? We have the shoes. Let's try to bring in a little bit of apparel to see how that can work out. So I'm excited to have this shown for the first time.
It's looking great. It's looking so good. And I want to remind folks, I'm going to be putting this up several times during the show. Here is an exclusive offer for the Startup Life live show. Viewers, scan that QR code, use Shamrock21 or visit the website smthedifference.com and grab yourself one of these amazing shoes. You're going to be learning a lot about this shoe as we go along. And I may play that video again while we're going through because it's so good and shares so much about the shoe. But let's just take a moment and think about, there you were, you grew up, with your dad talking about this shoe. Can you take us through that? That's part of your story.
Absolutely. The best way to talk about it, we have to take it back, starting off with the inventor, yes, who is my father, Dr. Etienne Penka. And
is this him right here, right?
No, that's me.
Oh, that's you there? Oh my gosh. See, this is why I need better glasses. That's it. My gosh, well, you do. I've seen your dad. Right here's dad.
That's dad. Yep, that's dad and mom. That's
dad and mom right there. Yay!
Yes, that's dad and
mom. Oh gosh. So we're gonna go talk about dad here.
Mm-hmm.
There he is. Dad is gonna feel so complimented right now. What? I look that good.
That's dad and mom. That was at when we did the first launch.
Oh, that's so exciting. Okay, so take us back. There you were about the story, the launch story.
So before we even get to the launch story, we got to take it back all the way back into the 90s because this is where everything started.
Okay.
So my father, he was an avid athlete himself, and he was also a professor. He taught sports medicine at a university, Lyons in Cameroon, where we are originally from, and that's in Africa. Upon one day, he was getting up and getting ready to just warm up. He dislocated his patella bone and had to go through intensive surgery. Prior to after the surgery, post-surgery, he had to go through some rehab. Now, my father was very much he didn't understand how was such a well-trained person, how he got injured. So he went through some rehab, and while he was going through rehab, one of the therapists that were there saw that my dad was very knowledgeable in the anatomy, the movement of the human body, and said, well, why don't you further your education and come to the United States? My father says, well, I don't speak English. And so she said, well, there's a scholarship out there by Fulbright. If you can, pass the exam and get selected, you can come and further your education here in the United States. And the reason why I bring this up is because now you're going to understand how I got my last name. So Dr. Songolo Aliko, hence my last name Songolo. Right. Dr. Songolo Aliko was one of my dad's closest friends. And he helped my dad translate his essay for him to come here in the United States to further his education. And as a token of appreciation, my dad gave me his last name since I was the only boy in the family. So that's how I got my last name, Songolo. So that's a sense of honor when that happens. So that's something that happens very frequently. So the family name is Penka. My individual last name is Songolo. So now we know how that happened.
I love that story.
So my dad got selected and he came here and attended Boston University, where he did his master's and he did his doctorate as well. Now, this is where it gets interesting. My father was very much curious. As a runner himself, he was always curious to try to know, why are we still getting injured as runners? The fact is, with well-conditioned, being well-trained, why are we still getting injured? And that led him on a journey that said, okay, I'm going to figure out what is the root cause of these injuries. And come to find out, that had to do with the landing mechanism as far as how runners land. Now, how do we know that? Because at the time I was such a young boy, and my father would take me across the Charles River to the Charles River, right across the BU Bridge. You can relate.
Yeah, I
And
totally can relate.
he
It's
would be there.
beautiful.
He would be there with the VHS camera on the floor and just recording people's running, just their feet, just their feet. And we'll go to different parks and he would do that. I mean, hours and hours of just recording people's feet. He would take the tapes, bring it back to the lab, and then he would analyze it. And what he noticed is that the majority of people had the same thing, which was the pattern of how they landed. And the reason why that was important is because he noticed that a lot of people were landing on their heels first, which we called heel striking. Now,
And that's typical, right?
yes, that's typical.
Yeah.
Now, the only problem with heel striking is this. When you're walking, you naturally are going to heel strike because you have one foot that's always on the ground. That's not a problem. However, when you run, you have a time of suspension where both feet are off the ground. Now, when both feet are off the ground, you're going to have at least 3 to 5 times your body weight reacting against the ground. Now, ask yourself, what part of the body, what muscles are absorbing all that shock that is going down, hitting the ground? On the heel, there is no shock absorbing mechanism that can take and resist that type of impact. But yet a lot of runners do that. And that's where the injuries start to happen. That's when you start to notice the shin splints. That's when you start to notice the back problems, the knee problems, the plantar fasciitis. So when my dad saw that this was a serious problem happening and said, well, how can we solve this problem? And we attempted everything. Things that are starting to happen now today, we already started that back in the 90s. Finally, my dad said, well, if heel striking is the problem, why do we even have the heel on the shoe? Why can't we just remove the heel and now no one has to worry about heel striking? But of course,
so that breaks the habit of landing on your heel by removing the heel.
Yeah, because you can't. Even if you want to, you can't. There is no heel to land on. So naturally, you're going to run and land the proper way that your body is supposed to.
Oh my gosh.
Yes, absolutely. So
that's amazing.
When he came up with that idea, he said, well, I got to test this theory out. So he took a pair of his shoes and he cut the heel off of it. He went out for a run, came back and said, wow, this feels great. All right, before I can say that this is it, I got to see if I'm not the only one that feels this way. So he used his first test dummy. Hi. So now imagine I'm waking up. We're talking in the 90s now. So I was still young. So I wake up in the morning. I'm getting ready to go to school. I open the closet and I see my shoes with the heels cut off. Now, Andy, to be quite honest, as a young boy still in the middle school, you know, my autonomy was something very important to me. And I said, Dad, why is my shoe missing a heel? He said, don't worry about it. Put it on, go to school. So what did I do? I put them on and I went
You're a
to
good
school.
son. Instead of saying, I'm refusing to do this. That's wonderful.
You know, of course, I got laughed at and everything. People were like, what's wrong? You don't have no heels, can't afford them, whatever. I came back and I was so upset and sad and frustrated. And I said, Dad, why'd you make me go to school with no heels? And he says, well, how did you feel? And surprisingly enough, I didn't complain. There was nothing wrong with it. I was just more in a sense of upset that I was getting laughed at.
Well, the fashion statement.
Yeah. I said, I felt good, Dad. There's no problem. So he said, okay, well, if you felt good, let's see if everybody else in the household is going to feel that way. So he decided to cut everyone's shoes off in the house. So now we became the heelless family. So my mom, my 3 sisters, all of us were all going to school. My mom going to work with no heels. Came back and asked them, how did you guys feel? And everyone was like, we felt great. My mom, who's in healthcare, has been in healthcare for over 20, 40 years easily, has said, this is a great shoe.
So oh my gosh. So was she standing a lot during the day?
Yes. She stands a lot. She works in a healthcare facility.
Yeah.
She's constantly on her feet. And she was always complaining of her lower back. And my dad said, well, how do you feel? She said, I feel great. So he saw that, hey, if my family's feeling good with this, let's see if this is actually something that we can go. So he went on a cross-cultural study to see if this is something that was happening everywhere. So he went and did some research, went to different universities all over the world and conducted the research where he had athletes run with the shoe cutting off their heels and saw that it improved their performance. Definitely there was no heel striking. So therefore the fatigue, a lot of things that they were experiencing prior to having the heels cut off, he saw that there was improving. So then he said, hey, I have a product there. Right after he figured that out, he went on and got a patent.
And he applied and paid for the patent. That's
and it was an uphill battle because to try to patent and explain that it was an uphill battle, but we got it done.
Wow. And when someone lands on their toes, they don't have this, or, foot forward, they don't have the same kind of injuries or pain. Why is
No.
that?
Well, if you can pull up the chart, there was a chart that you have there. I can briefly
Okay,
explain it.
everybody, get ready. Here we go.
Okay. So what you see right here is the foot's shock absorbing mechanism. Now, as
Okay.
you can see, you have what we call the longitudinal arches, which is the
Mm-hmm.
ones in blue, and you have the transversal arches. Those are the
Yes.
ones in green.
Yes.
Now, the job of these arches is to hold your body's posture, and they absorb the shock as you are
Oh,
moving. You ever ask yourself, someone that is running, you have 2 to 3 times your body weight. So myself, given the fact that I'm 200 pounds, when I'm running, that's at least 600 pounds that is reacting towards the ground as I'm landing each time. And the job of these arches, they support and act up shock absorbers, putting the muscles into contraction that is meant to support and withstand that weight. Now,
got it.
yes,
Got it.
as you can see there, front foot landing, you're using all your arches of your foot. You're using
Oh,
all your intrinsic muscles. People that heel strike, as you can see, you're not using none of your arches. And
oh
that's
my
where injuries
gosh.
can start to happen.
Oh my gosh. That is an incredible chart.
Okay.
It's a big, powerful chart, folks, which is why I didn't have it in my usual branded image. It's just insane and important to understand this part of the running and how the foot works. And who knew, right? Except that someone said to your dad, you look into this, try
Right.
it out. And then, of course, everybody helped out. I just want to say hi to a few folks. Hey, Ted, tuning in from Phoenix. Yes, universal appeal and relevant. Thank you, my indie film producer friend from Phoenix. And hey, Nikki, great. I know. So incredible. But also, it's about the shoe, Nikki. It's actually, he is changing, his company is changing the athletic footwear industry by getting folks to run differently with his unique, innovative, patented sneaker. Nikki is from the UK. If you like any of the branded artwork you see here, I'm going to invite you to be sure to tune into her YouTube channel where she can show you how to use Canva, or you can hire her to help you with all of your artwork. And we all dislocating. Thank you. The patella is the knee, and that was a tough injury for your dad to have. That's really painful. Thank you, Stephen. It is interesting research, and I just love how the whole family has been involved and continues to be involved as you hear the rest of the story. Hello, children's author, incredible Barbara Tibbetts, who is also launching a new podcast about reading with children. I know, I love this concept, something fierce. And, Barbara, and he's, Olgui's local in the greater Boston area. So that's really cool too. Barbara's in Southern New Hampshire, I believe. Right.
Okay.
And so, and hello, Yara. So good to see you. Yara is a huge advocate for the startup community, Olguy. You
Okay.
should get to know her, connect with her on LinkedIn. She's with Capital One, but she's always out there sharing and helping folks add wind to their sails and open doors for startup founders and female founders. Everywhere she glows, she's amazing. So now here you are. You guys are thinking, all right, we've got the patent, but now we've got to launch this business. Well, someone's got to feed the family, right? So dad's got to stay working.
Yeah. So my dad had a decision to make after the patent came. He had a decision. Do I launch this business? Do I make this shoe and create a business out of it? Or do I raise my kids? We were all still in school. So
Right.
he made the decision with my mom and said, hey, listen, right now, I have to invest in my family first. So he put his dream aside and left everything dormant to raise us. And fast forwarding today, everyone is independent, everyone is healthy, everyone is here. My sister's married, kids are involved. And
But
2006. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
oh no, but what happened? Like, did everybody? Because clearly it was an idea that was meant to happen.
Mm-hmm.
And so did the whole family just kind of pivot and turn to you and go, we're choosing you to make this happen? How did that work?
It was 2016. I remember it was 2016. I was reading over his dissertation.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, Dad, what's going on with the shoe? We've had this patent now for a while. What are we gonna do with it? And then my dad looked at me and said, Well, I did my part. I raised you guys to where you are now. Everyone graduated from college. Everyone is independent. What are you going to do? So we assessed it. And to be realistic, out of everyone in my family, it was only right that I was the one that could take on this challenge since I don't have no immediate responsibilities, not married, no kids. So I said, okay, I'll take on the challenge. Problem was, I didn't have a clue where to start. My background, all our backgrounds in our family is in healthcare and medical field. So here I am saying, well, how am I going to even start this? All I have is a piece of paper with your patent on it and a design. How am I going to turn this into an actual shoe? So the first thing I did is I looked up how to get a model. I said, we have to mock up a model, like a 3D rendering design for the shoe. So I found a company also Boston, locally based in Boston, to do a 3D design of the outsole of the shoe. And once they did the outsole, I showed it to my dad. I said, Dad, this is great looking outsole, but the problem is this is expensive. We spent almost close to $3,000 just to do an outsole design, 3D rendering model. I said, we can't go this route, Dad. If we keep doing this to try to figure out how to get the exact shoe, we're going to be broke.
Yeah.
And I want to make sure that, we can do this accurately. So my father said, well, what do you think should happen? I said, well, we have to go somewhere where we can do this and it won't break the bank. Well, where's the hub of designing for shoes? Where's the hub of manufacturing for shoes? China. So I said, Dad, this is going to have to happen in China. He said, well, find a company that's willing to make the shoe and we'll go with them. So here I am on the internet and I'm looking up different companies. Now there's over 500 factories. Okay. So imagine how you have to narrow it down to this is going to be the factory that does this.
And anybody who's tuning in, if you've had to manufacture in China, you know what we're talking about here. Not just it's hard enough just to even figure that part out, but also how to get it to the US. Mm-hmm. And there's different ways and different challenges. So you're on the internet doing what so many founders do when they come up with a great product and got a great prototype and they're like, okay, we can't do it here in the US. Where is it going to get manufactured? And you figured it out. I love that. So you went to China and then what happened?
Well, once we figured out the company that we were going to do, or that we were going to go with, I had to travel there. So it was already an uphill battle just to get the visa too. But we got through that, got the visa. I flew out there with my designer, the designer that I had at the time. It was me and him, and we flew out there. Now, I tell people this all the time. You can Google as many times as you want. It is not going to prepare you until you're physically there. Because we Googled everything, what to do in China, how to do this. But when you get there, it is a cultural shock that hits you right in the face. It was like, whoa, okay, this is real. And, given the fact that, it's a communist country, so they have their own way of doing everything. Twitter is blocked. Facebook is blocked, Instagram gone, Google, nothing. So I was completely shut out the world. So I was just like, wow, this is completely new to me, trying to adjust to the atmosphere, the culture, the food. it was quite a bit of an uphill battle. But 10 days within, my designer ended up leaving. He had to leave. So he ended up coming back to the United States, which left me in China by myself. And I was there for 3 weeks initially, and I got done with the first prototype of the shoe. I had it shipped over to my dad, and when he received the shoe, we got on the phone, and I said, Dad, is this the shoe? Andy, the disappointment that I heard in his voice, he wasn't upset or mad, or it was just like, this is not the shoe. And the excitement of finally seeing his shoe come to life, and it wasn't the shoe, I heard it in his voice. I said, Dad, this is not the shoe? He said, no, this is not the shoe. Said,
and founders watching, first-time founders, if you've gone through this, trust me, the feeling is, well, share the feeling. It can be gut-wrenching. How did you all feel?
It was tough. It was, I was hurt emotionally, physically. It was tough because I said, wow, this is not the shoe. He said, no. He said, just come back to the United States. We'll try it again. I couldn't sleep.
No.
When I heard his voice, and after being there for 3 weeks and I heard how he sounded, I said, you know what? I said, no, I can't just let this go this simple. So I called him at 5 o'clock. I got up at 5 o'clock in the morning, which was 5 p.m. here because it's a 12-hour difference, Eastern time. And I got on the phone. I said, Dad, I'm not coming back to the United States. He said, what? I said, I'm not coming back. He said, what do you mean? I said, I'm going to stay here until I get the shoe right. You can hear my mom in the background like, what does he mean he's not coming back? What does he mean he's not coming back? I said, I'm gonna stay here till we get the shoe done the way that you designed it, the way that you want that it's supposed to be.
All right, hold on. You just got to stop for a second because I'm having a. That's an Andelicious moment, and here's why. Founders are problem solvers. Okay? Whatever it takes, there is a solution. You will find it, even if it means you have to do what Olguy did and stay in China until you figure it out. That, to me, always gives me goosebumps. And Olguy, I'm so proud of you for knowing it, because I don't think it was just because you didn't want to disappoint your dad. I'm sure that was part of it. But darn it, you knew the answer and the solution was there, and you were going to stay until you found it. That is a core ingredient that investors actually really love to see too, but it's also a core ingredient for who you be. And I just love that. So sorry to interrupt. So then what happened?
So when he heard that, he heard the seriousness in my voice. So he said, well, all right, let's discuss this. So he got into a discussion with the family, my sisters and my mom, and we said, all right, let's put the package in. So he emptied out his savings, his CDs, took part of his retirement. Same thing with my mom, all my sisters. We all put the whole package in. We didn't take no loans. We didn't take no investments. Wow. We did this as a family. And my dad said, Olguy, this is it. This is all we have. So if this doesn't work, it's okay. But this is where we are right now. So I'm sitting there.
Wow. I just brought Olguy into the big picture there because, okay, this is, I love that the family pulled all their money in. That is so delicious. Everybody was in it to win it, or at least know that they had done their best to make it happen. But the pressure was on you, which is why I had to bring you up, because it's like, okay, everybody, thanks for counting on me. So like, how did you handle that level of responsibility?
Well,
and accountability?
Well, for one, I think the Leo in me, I don't know how to quit. Like when a challenge occurs, or if someone doubts me, then it actually fuels me.
Yeah.
So I said, all right, Olguy, the reality is you don't know how long you're going to be here. So the number one thing is, if you're going to be here, you have to acclimate yourself. Two things that I need to know. I need to learn this language, and I need to know how to navigate. So the first thing I did is I got a tutor from the University of Xiamen, which was literally an hour from where I was staying. I was in Xinjiang, which is all part of the Fujian province. So I got a student there to come and tutor me, to teach me Mandarin. And then I also had another tutor that was from Russia that was out there working. So I had two tutors that were constantly around me. And I just wanted to learn the basics. I just needed to know how to navigate on my own, to be able to ask for something, to be able to do something, get directions. Yes, no.
Yeah.
And
because because my husband has traveled extensively in China, there are no, like in English also, just to take the train.
Mm-hmm.
So you don't know, is this train going to go that way or that way?
100%.
And get anywhere that you need to go. So it's tricky.
Yep. So once I did that, I also got a bike. I bought a bicycle because I needed to be able to transport myself,
right,
and not spend so much money or relying too much on my supplier. Mm-hmm. So I bought a bicycle, and now I needed to know how to navigate. And that was the tricky part, because there's no really street signs or directions. So what I was doing, I was using landmarks. I was using people as landmarks, because I can remember one of the factories that I would go to, there was a lady that she sold like donuts. And so I say, okay, when I see this lady, that means I got to take a right here. Now, what I forgot to play back in my head is this lady has a mobile cart, so she can move. So one time I was riding, and then I'm like, where's the lady? And I see her, and I take the right, but I'm not at the factory.
Right.
I'm like, wait a minute, what's going on? So I had to double back and take the opposite turns to each street till I finally found the factory. So I said, all right, I got to find a better way to do this. So I took a rock and I marked an X on the ground. And I said, okay, this is not going to move. This is stationary. So every time I'm riding the bike and I see that X, I know it's time to take that turn. And
okay, everyone, you think you're having a hard day making some stuff happen for your business? Think about Olguy. This is incredible.
So that's how I got a little bit comfortable. Yeah. Now, mind you, again, not having no experience in developing, designing, I'm a big man. I'm a big man of faith. Like God is the one person that has truly trucked me throughout all of this. And my family was very much a stern support system. And literally people that were coming into my life when I was doing this journey to develop the shoe, it was God sent. Yes. I didn't know anything about designing. I didn't know anything about what type of materials to use. So I was blessed to meet Amazing person. He's now my mentor, and he worked 25 years for a big brand company that also does shoes. And he saw me one time in the lobby, and I had my head literally like this. And he comes up to me and he says, "You've been here. I've seen you here now for over 3 months. You're not on vacation. What are you doing here?" I said, "I'm just trying to see everybody healthy and happy with this product." He said, "Well, what's the problem?" I said, "I don't even know where to begin, and I'm struggling." And
oh boy,
it was amazing. He said, "Well, what are you using for your outsole?" And I'm like, "What is that?" He says, "Oh yeah, we gotta give you a crash course."
Okay, I just have to take a moment. And those of you who are out there who do rely on, forces outside of normal to help you create and make things happen. This is a beautiful story because, the saying about when the need is there, the teachers appear. I'm sure I'm not saying it correctly, but if you're open to it, they'll come and show you. And you had this conversation with this person, and look how ideal they turned out to be for you and your journey. What's an outsole? Oh boy, we got to talk. I'll remember that for forever. Let me just say a quick hello. Hey, Eric from Media Prepared. Eric's business gets you prepared for when the mic gets in your face. And he's amazing. And he's talking about similar to when our earlier conversation, designed to build calf muscles. Okay, I'll take your word for it. I know nothing. And then Barbara, exactly. Incredible lessons of life that we're seeing and hearing right now from Olguy. And also tenacity and resilience. These are the entrepreneur's DNA. This is how you're going to get through it. And and Barbara's been there, folks. 10 years in business takes tenacity. And the same thing with her. Everybody, you can see how you can, follow Barbara, learn more about her scavenger hunt books and all sorts of fun things that she's doing with her business, the Lookbook Hunt, with Hunter the Owl. Just want to do a shout out to fellow founders who tune in and to the show and give them you're rocking it, goddess. Absolutely. So now you've met this wonderful mentor and teacher who I just still, you can't make that stuff up. When someone out of the blue who just comes in and then asks you the pivotal question, where's the outsole? And you're like, say what? I love that. So then what happened? So you're 3 months in China at this point. You're not anywhere enough yet, despite all the times you've gone to the factory and put your X's in the ground to know where you are.
Yeah.
Then what happened?
So before to continue with, because the thing is with the outsole, since this is not a generic outsole, the outsole of the shoe, we have to open a mold for it. Yeah. And molds are expensive. They're roughly about $2,500 for each mold. Yeah. So each time we were failing at getting the mold the way that it was supposed to be, that's $2,500 literally out the window. So, and part of it was like, well, how are you creating this outsole for such a strong technology? Your outsole is the core. But yet I didn't have experience on how to even design or come up with how to make this outsole. So he says, all right, meet me for dinner. So around the afternoon, I meet him for dinner. He laid out at least 10 different types of outsoles and says, what is this material? I'm like, I don't know. He says, this is EVA. A lot of materials are used with EVA. This is rubber. This is PU. This is TPU. He starts naming and it says, this is how you know how this type of material is. You twist it, you bite it. He was doing all types of stuff to teach me. And I'm sitting there like soaking it in like a sponge. And I said, let me go upstairs and grab a notebook. He says, listen, if you have to grab a notebook, I suggest you to catch a flight and go back to Boston. You're going to either get this or you're not going to get this.
Wow, that's tough learning.
Oh, yes. We were there literally probably to like 1 a.m. going back and forth. Wow. He gave me all the samples of the outsoles, told me to study it. I met him for breakfast that morning and he had 10 new samples there. And he was pointing and says, pick that one up. What is this? And here I was like a tape recorder. I'm like, this is this. He says, what density is this? I'm like, it's between this density and this density. So I was comfortable. I felt a little confidence in me. And he says, okay, now go and do your outsole. So that's where everything started.
I have such goosebumps. I just love this story so much. Oh my gosh. So then what happened?
So now we got the outsole.
Yep.
Once we get the outsole, perfect. As soon as we got the outsole, now we have to create a last. The last is what gives the shape of the shoe.
Yeah.
Everything is customized. Again, we have to create a last. Now, the last wasn't as difficult as the outsole because, again, it's just buffing it to the where you want it, specifications and how you want it to look. And since this is a unisex shoe, I wanted to have an appeal that both men and women could wear and still have the good flavor, stylish look to it. I wanted to make sure that the functionality was there, but also the aesthetics of the shoes were also there as well.
Right.
So now we go into this. We go into the vamp, the materials. Now with the materials, I said to myself, I want to use something breathable, lightweight, but stylish. And I'm very big on the environment. So I need something that's eco-friendly as well.
Wow.
So I took all these components and say, all right, well, how do we do this? So even with the Flyknit material on the shoe, as you can see with this one here, I tried to make sure that we use the Flyknit material that was double stitched. So as you can see it doesn't have many, you can't even see no holes, but yet you do have the ventilation of the shoe there. And so I wanted it to look.
Yep. Hold on, there we go.
Yep. See, so I wanted to give it that aesthetic look.
So good.
And still give the all rubber outsole and the lightness and functionality of the shoe. So that was a big deal for me. So we were able to do that. Now
should I bring,
go ahead.
Are you ready for one of these images?
Let's go.
What about this one?
There we go. So now that's going into production. So that's the assembly line. And I was literally there at the assembly line. Now, here's where things started getting interesting. So now at this particular point, I feel like there's a momentum now going, right? I'm like, okay, I got the outsole. We got the stitching of the vamp. We have the last. We're in production. What's the first thing that happens? Boom, we get hit with a typhoon.
As one does sometimes in China.
Yep.
But still, shouldn't have been on your watch.
Once we got hit with a typhoon, and I mean, these typhoons are no joke. Like they literally had dozens of people trying to keep the door shut in the lobby of the hotel because that's how strong these winds and the water is. And that stopped production. All production stopped. So now at this point, we had pre-orders that we had to meet the deliverables by. And now we were backed up. And I'm like, Jesus.
Oh, okay. Now you founders, you know what this is about. You can't give up hope ever. Hey, can I just bring up this quick photo here? Is this when you were working with the prototype and everything?
So this is actually the tag that we have on the shoe. So every shoe that you get, we give a tag because what happens is, again, this is a shoe without a heel that most people have never seen, let alone are experiencing for the first time. So we did this tag to first educate the wearer what this shoe is, the science behind the shoe, and how to use the shoe.
Got it.
Yes. So that was me. I was there with one of the designers that were there coming up and doing some corrections and fixing everything out like that. Yep.
And everybody, like pre-orders, here we are, the assembly line, everything's looking great. You're going, yes, we're going to win. And then weather comes in and it's boom.
That was it. Stop. So now I'm like, oh boy, how are we going to get this done? And now I'm sitting there saying, okay, well, I mean, you can't fight Mother Nature. That's what happens. When we were finally able to come back up, now we have to work around the clock to make up that time. Yeah. So, and I had to micromanage a lot of the production because, again, the complexity of the shoe, I wanted to make sure that every single pair was detailed and done correctly. So I actually had to stay in the factory and sleep in the factory at times so that I can still be there. So I can still be there to micromanage everything that was going on. So I was not leaving. I was literally sleeping there. And it was, I mean, the conditions were not easy.
Yeah. They were not easy.
They were brutal.
You can understand why it can take so long to bring something to market, because if you're here, you've got your design team and manufacturers in China, and they're like, okay, we'll send it, FedEx. And you'll get it. You'll go, no, this isn't right. And you've got to then get on. You were there. You were there watching, and you have obviously a deep design requirement and attention to detail that's so important to come out with the product the way you wanted it to look. Absolutely. Where you could get up in front of a room like this and say, hey, this is what I'm talking about. How did you handle the fact that now you have inventory? People are waiting for these pre-orders. Had you done a crowdfunding campaign? How did that work? Nope. You just got out there and started
It was
selling?
it was mostly friends and family.
Okay,
That's where we pretty much started.
got it.
Now my father had let people know that, hey, Olgui's in China, so people were like, hey, we want to support in this, and everyone wants to, everyone that knew the family knew that my dad had this just dormant for a while. So now that it's actually happening, everyone wanted to jump on board to say, I want to be part of this. I want to be the person to say I have the first pair of Heelless Technology runners on my feet. So at this point, we're going through all our production, and I'm like, okay, we're pushing through. Now we have to get the shoes tested, because in order for it to come to the United States, they have to go through and they have to get a classification number, which goes to U.S. Custom Border. To get a classification number, you have to get the shoes tested, make sure that the chemicals, that nothing's harmful, everything is such. So we use Intertech is the company that we use.
Okay.
So now here's
How did you
where,
find that company?
again, in order for us to get a classification number, my dad was like, well, we're bringing in a container. It has to go to get a classification number to categorize what type of shoe this is, which is under sports shoes. So they was like, well, it has to get the testing results. Once we get the testing results, then we can issue a classification number that is going to allow it to actually come and clear customs, so we can actually have the shoe and start to sell.
Right. And the worst thing that can happen to you folks is have your shipment be sitting there in customs. And you just do not want to do that, man, and have that happen to you. Okay, I think I may have to go take a nap now after hearing all that you went through. I'm wiped out from, oh my gosh. Now, where are we? We know at 3 months, you met the wonderful mentor who told you hello and really did a quick education, talk about boot camp, to help you get this prototype and start actually manufacturing your shoe. How many months have you been in China at this point where you're getting the ID number so that you can ship it to the US and customs can take it in? How long is
6
that?
months. 6 months in now.
6 months now of your life in China on the family's money. As I gotta say, as Eric said here, incredible story that couldn't have been told if he had outside investors. No way would they have gone for the China trip. Only the family would have been able to back something like this. Investors would have been like, oh no, you're not doing that. So that gives you some freedom to create value and do what you needed to do. And I'm saying, thank goodness, family, that Olguy was here with some time on his hands to go out there and learn. Meanwhile, too, you're having to crunch numbers. I mean, you have to understand what your cost of goods sold.
Absolutely. You got to understand your cost.
Price the shoe. How did you determine how to price your shoe?
So actually, funny enough, I was doing my MBA while I was in production.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yes. So so I do have my MBA from Grand Canyon University, and I was actually during the course of finance when I was going through that to try to figure out, and I had my advisor that was helping me, who was a professor at Hull University here in Cambridge. And so I had to, first of all, to come up with how much our MSRP was going to be, we had to figure out how much it cost us to, to make the shoe. And then once we was established to know, okay, this is the landing cost of the shoe, then now what's my markup price that's going to be to where we're actually being profitable. And
right, because you got to take in the box, the tissue paper, every little piece that it comes in, or maybe yours doesn't come in a box, or does it?
Absolutely, the whole package. You get a whole experience with the shoe. Every detail in the shoe is.
Hold that up. Here we go.
Yeah.
Perfect. Yeah. Love that. And that's a whole nother piece of investment, everybody, to make sure the user experience.
Absolutely.
Getting that shoe. So I love that you're in finance. There's 2 types of finance, everybody. There's what we call the fiscal finance, accounting, and that is the balance sheet and the income statement and cash flow projections. But then there's cost accounting, which is really my favorite. And that gets into each piece of the product. How much does it cost to produce, and at what levels does that price go down? So if you're, which volume, it's very exciting. So you had to, now have the money to. How many did you have on the first run? How many shoes?
3,500 pairs.
Wow.
3,500 pairs. And that's with an MOQ of 1,200, 1,200. And that's where, because if you go below that, the price point of the shoe goes up. So at 1,200, that's where you can kind of have that sweet spot. And of course, you increase volume, the price point goes down. So you understand that one very well.
Anybody who's got product knows it's all about volume. So the first shipment makes it into the US. Do you fly home to be there for that? Or
so no, that actually didn't happen that way. So pretty much once we were able to, because it was a battle to get the classification number, because there's a waiting list to get the shoes tested, which we didn't know because Intertech deals with a lot of different companies. So we had a 6 months waiting period at the time for us to go in and get the shoes tested. And that was a no-no because we had to deliver these shoes to our customers that had pre-ordered, have been waiting for them.
Right.
So this is, again, testimonial to how God works. Check this out. I'm coming back from a bike ride and I'm going upstairs. I go to the lobby to pick up some water. I see a gentleman with the same face I had about 6 months ago. He's literally like this. And I'm just like, I know that face. I know I had that face. So I walk up to him and I ask him, I say, is everything okay? You doing all right? And he's like, listen, I just want some cold water. And it was hot. It was scorching hot. I mean, we were getting temperatures 90s and above on a regular basis. So you had to stay hydrated. He's from Jersey. He just got there. And I said, well, what's the problem? He's like, I keep asking for water, but they're not bringing me cold water. They keep bringing me warm water. And it's custom for them to give you warm water because for them, warm water helps the body's core, digestion, and everything. So they naturally are going to give you warm water unless you personally request cold water. So he was a little bit frustrated, and I understood his frustration. So I helped him out because at that point, my Mandarin was flowing. It was pretty much good. So I was able to help him out, and I called the waitress over, and I got him some cold water. We got to having a conversation, and he says, well, what are you doing here? And I explained to him about the shoes, the concept, and everything. He says, well, where are you in? What stage are you in right now? I said, well, we have a waiting list because we need to get it tested, but it has to go through this company. He says, well, what's the problem? I said, we're 6 months in a waiting list. He says, do you have a sample of the shoes? I go upstairs to my room. I grab a sample and I give it to him. Andy, this is what this guy does. He says, I will have the results for you in 48 hours.
Oh, no.
I said, excuse me? He says, I'll have the results for you in 48 hours. I was like, 48 hours? I said, it has to go through this company. He pulls out his business card and hands it to me. Guess what it says on the business card? Director of Intertech Chenzo. I said,
I can't even. I got to fan myself now and clap. And oh my gosh, I have goosebumps all over my body.
Mike, that's what I said. It's 90% God. It was 10% my physical, personal. Like it was, because I'm like, what are the odds that this happens?
But you said, I've seen that face before. I'm going to go.
Yeah, I recognized it.
Room, you went over and said, hey, how can I help? With no attachments at all.
I remember that face because I had that face. And I was like, whatever he's going through, it's tough. I can relate.
Seriously.
I can relate.
Okay, divine intervention. There we go.
So, boom, we get the classification number. We get the testing results. Dad gets the classification number. We're ready to ship. What happens? Olguy needs to get a root canal.
There we go. Yeah.
Here we go.
Or, typhoon,
then a root canal that kept me out of commission for at least a good week until I actually got the root canal. And again, where I was located, it was not easy to just go to any dentists. Like I said, the conditions were rough. So I was like, I cannot. Every day that I'm not in this factory, something's going up. I have to be there to micromanage. I don't know what's going on, but I need to get a root canal. So I actually ended up going to Chenzo. There was a doctor that was there, and he was from San Francisco. I said, I need you to do this root canal. I don't care. This needs to hurry up and get fixed. So boom, we get the root canal. After I got the root canal, back again. I'm hitting it hard, micromanaging. I was literally the one inside the actual assembly line, putting up the shoes. Any error that was on the shoes, I was mark it, reject it, go back on the assembly line, get it fixed. I was literally monitoring everything from beginning to end, the stitching, the lasting, the packaging. Now here we go. This when you think that it's all over, done and said, Olguy gets hit by a car. I got hit by a car riding my bike. I was like, man.
Oh, sorry.
Because I was riding my
adventure, everybody. That's why I do you. What a story. So
I was riding my bike everywhere. It was honestly, it was also my fault because again, you have to learn the culture of how they drive there. Honking is not for you to be cautious. Honking is for you to speed up. The way they drive, if someone that has traveled there can relate to the story right now because there are some different drivers. They're very unique driving. I will say that. And so that took me out of commission for at least 2 weeks because when I got hit, I landed on my tailbone, my coccyx, and it shattered. So I wasn't able to lay down. I had to
Oh,
sleep in a prayer position because of the pain of the shattered coccyx bone. And it took me out of commission for at least 2 weeks, even longer, to be honest with you. But 2 weeks is when I was able to actually start to move a little bit. So
okay, you're giving new meaning to the words tenacity, persistence, and oh yeah, resilience.
it was
That's incredible.
crying every day. I was crying. My
Sure.
mom, and it was so tough because I was by myself. My mom was like, "I need to go see my son." My dad is like, "Liddy, by the time you try to get the visas, the flights, and my
Can you
dad."
tell your mama? I know exactly how she feels. Parenting does not stop. I don't care how old your child is. When you think that they are alone and in pain and you can't be there to help them, my oldest son knows exactly what I'm talking about. Tell your mama I know and I feel it for her. That must have been so hard. So, how did things get easier for your mom, i.e., how did you do?
Well, my dad, again, his background, because he has a clinic. He's also an athletic trainer. So we were having like FaceTime
Yeah.
exercise sessions in the morning. The hotel was very accommodating. Mind you, I've been there now. We're talking 8 months in the game. So they knew me I knew the whole staff. So when this
Right.
happened to me, they were like, "What do we do?" I was like, "Just please bring me ice every 15 minutes on, every 15 minutes off." And they were bringing ice to me like clockwork. I mean, they really took care of me. So, you know, 2 weeks is when I was able. I did a lot of stretches, ice, and I was crying. Andy, my routine was crying every morning in the shower, just crying. And I kept saying, "Why am I here? Why am I here? Is this ever going to get done? Why is it I feel like I'm making one step forward and then 10 steps back? Like,
And still,
what is that?"
again, this is all a possibility. There's no guarantee for Olguy and his family that the shoe is going to sell continually, repeat sales, and grow. So he's going through all of this, and many of you founders know it's that possibility. And there are dark days
Oh, yeah.
where, as Olguy is saying, you're crying because you're in so much pain, whatever is causing that pain. In his case, ouch, root canal, then the coccyx. Oh,
And it was uphill. It was uphill.
so
But
let's talk about where did the sneakers get to the U.S.
yeah,
and
it got to the US 2000. It got to the US in 2018.
okay.
Yep, February of 2018 is when it
And
got
how
to
long were you in China to make that happen?
about a year.
A year.
Yeah.
Wow, what a commitment. And now you have a great relationship with the manufacturer,
Absolutely.
and they're able to scale with you as you start to increase sales. So,
Absolutely.
and they know exactly how detail your formal relationship with details is. The fact that you micromanage, but you want things to look exactly right. They've been all trained. They get how he needs to vibe on those sneakers. So now you've got a great partner. You return to the US and
Now it's time for us to sell. But the problem is we were tapped out. We spent all our money in manufacturing, staying in China for such a long time. Now we didn't have no capital to actually put into marketing. So we had to go old fashioned, bootstrapping, guerrilla marketing. So
share.
here, sharing, using our regular Instagram pages and everything. We did like an opening where we invited friends and families. As you can see the picture of my dad and my mom where they're celebrating it. And we literally hit the ground running, no pun intended. We went and got a peddler's license that allow us to, sell out in the city of Boston. So we were doing trade shows. I was reaching out to different trade shows saying, "Hey, listen, we're a startup. We don't have no capital, but we do have this product." And, I'll send out some samples. They'll be like, "Oh yeah, you guys can come in. Don't worry about it."
Nice.
So I
Because
was
trade show booth fees.
oh yeah, trust and believe me. And,
Yeah.
we were lucky. I mean, and then they were, again, ask, famous Matthew 7:7 quote in the Bible, "Ask and it shall be given you." So I was really big believer on, hey, the most they can say is no. So I will ask. We have this product. It's innovative. We're a startup. We don't have any capital for this booth, or we can't pay the amount that you want. Can you work with us? And a lot of the functions, trade shows that we did, they were very much excited about having something new to show people. And the fact that they were like, well, it came to our trade show. We featured it kind of first. So it was cool. So we had an opportunity to do the Boston Marathon trade shows. We did the Philadelphia trade shows. We did quite a bit of different trade shows. We even did a trade show out in China. So it was a good experience, but still that wasn't enough to really let users, let people know that, hey, this is a brand that is here.
That's right. I want to pop this up here too. So remember, Startup Life Live, folks, you get a Shamrock 21 discount right here.
Yeah.
So you go scan the QR code, go to smthedifference.com, put in Shamrock 21, and get your discount for this incredible shoe. Because, we get a lot of people who watch the replay, and you know how busy folks are. And certainly this also is I put this into my podcast, which is why I said it out loud. And of course, this will all be in the show notes. Links will be there as well, folks. So how have you gotten to the point where you've ordered another round?
No, we're still on our first round.
There we go.
We're still on our first round because, again, once we came back, we didn't have no capital for marketing. So we had to literally do everything by word of mouth, by bootstrapping. And then, of course, 2018 was not bad. We actually did pretty well in 2018 because, again, it was a new concept. Friends and families got into it, but now we needed to get customers. So acquisition costs was high because we had to get our acquisition cost was close to $3 to try to get in aware. And again, we didn't bring in any investors.
Mm-hmm.
We didn't take no loans. We're literally crunching.
Ready for some investors? So for inventory, or are you at the point?
We're at the point that we are looking for investors, but again, for us, we have to find the right partner. I look at investor as a commitment. It's like a marriage, for better or for worse, and we're in this together. So we had investors that did reach out to us, but a lot of them got a little bit very needy with the equity. And I get it. We're a startup, we're young, so our valuation can be very much, subjective to every investor. I understand that. And for me, it's having a partnership. Someone that understands the vision of where we're trying to go, can bring in not just the capital, but also the ideas to allow us to scale, because this is literally disruptive. It is going to change the whole.
Reach out to Damon John.
Oh, from the Shark Tank.
Well, he's the branding.
That's a whole nother conversation we can have.
Okay. Yeah. Well, but him individually, he's pretty accessible, and he loves, especially in the sports world. Same with Mark Cuban. Of course, he's currently still on the Shark Tank. But these are important things you have to think about. And plus, you had to create all your marketing materials to make sure everybody understood how this works. And as we showed the video, I'm just going to do a little bit of it right now again for about 10 seconds.
We are the future and new innovation to the running, walking, and standing industry. We are the difference. The science is in the patented Heelless Technology. The objective of the Heelless shoe is to enhance forefoot landing during physical activities while inhibiting heel strike upon landing.
So I share that, everybody, because these are things when you have products that you have to create. You've got to find the money for, and you've got to keep the excitement up and have something that can help you promote it. And you're right about the investor journey. You are going to be married to this person until you either sell, or somebody acquires you, or you go public, et cetera. Somebody buys them out. It's really, really hard to find that right match. And what you need to do too, especially what Olguy's done right now, is build value in the business so that you can get proper equity that you're giving up, because sometimes if you get money too early and you haven't created enough value, you're going to give up too much of your ownership in the business. So I have a deep appreciation for that. Isn't that video great? I didn't do the whole thing I did at the beginning, Eric. It's a terrific video. And, he's the video guy. So that's a good thumbs up right there.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
But, when you have an innovative product like this, you have to have a video, because people are going to say what? No heel? You have to visually do that. So really, really smart. Oh, you see sharks on Clubhouse. Maybe there's a way to reach out to them there. You never know. I think having watched this incredible founder sort of just put it out and just say, thank you, please guide me. I need this, I need that. I am sure the right investor is going to come to you, because they're going to be inspired by what your family and you have put into figuring this out. And perhaps they'll have knowledge in this particular athletic wear space and the introductions that they can help you, grow the business and add even more value into getting inventory and ramping up.
Definitely.
How much does your shoe sell for?
Retail is $120.
Yeah, that's totally reasonable. It's right in there with all the other top brands, and yet you're bringing something completely different. Do you have any influencers that are helping you? Anybody in the running space that's talking about it?
So we have a former NBA athlete, Jerome James. He used to play. He retired as a New York Knicks athlete, and that was one of my biggest kind of like attractive to sell because he wears a size 21 and a half. So literally it's the size of my forearm from here to here. That's literally the size of his shoe. And every time we do trade shows or anything like that, people what would create attention. People like, whose shoe is that for? And then I'd have a picture of him behind with his signature. So and now we it's organic. With influencers, again, what I've learned a lot, especially during this journey, is just because you have a million followers doesn't mean everybody's going to convert and purchase your product. And it also depends on who you're using as an influencer. For a particular brand as such, you want someone that's in that realm to now. So because now their opinions matter. If you're a runner and you say, hey, these are some good shoes for running, yes. Now, if you're someone that doesn't run as much, you can like the shoes for leisure. You can like the shoes because they have different functionalities. Walking all the time. And currently, we're at a process of getting our application filed in to get the seal of approval from the American Podiatric Medical Association. Because what we found out is we have a lot of diabetics that wear these shoes because of offloading. And that's another space that is completely I did not even notice until I was like, wow. Like my sister was communicating because she's a registered nurse, and a diabetic was like, this is it. Get a podiatrist to back you up with this. And it makes sense because for those that have heel ulcers, they tell them they recommend to offload. Offloading means that you shouldn't put pressure on their heels. So they recommend a lot of insoles and everything else. But now I have no heel on my shoe. So there's nothing for you to have to offload. So
and what about those of us with arches? Like we need our arch support.
Yes. Oh, of course, you're definitely going to have the arch support because remember with that chart that I showed you, your intrinsic muscles now are being activated.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Because I don't mind putting on my Merrill hiking boots and walking around, but walking on the hard pavement with sneakers, I'm done. So this would be fine on the hard of the treadmill.
Mm-hmm. Most flat terrains, and that's where the scaling comes in, because now if you say, well, Olguy, how do you scale? Well, now we got to introduce it not just for runners and people that are walking. You're hiking, you're gonna have to change that outsole design, right? What about football players, soccer players that have to use cleats? We have to design a version like that. What about construction workers?
Product development, and that's wonderful because you have your basic design all worked out. That segment, all off the main product line. That is the best place to be, and if whatever product you have, but this is very exciting for you. So as we start to wrap things up, because you've had so many amazing stories along the way, and your, again, the resilience and the tenacity that you used, we understand that you grabbed that and pulled it, and you had the support of your family. But as you've looked back on this journey and you've thought about the things that might have kept you up at night, and every time you got set back, what is a mind hack that you would share with other founders to help them get through difficult times, even if it's not a typhoon or a root canal in a foreign country for you, or being hit by a car? What is the advice that you would share?
To be honest, it's ask yourself why you're doing this. I had to ask myself every day. My routine was getting up in the morning. I'd go to the gym, come out, go shower, cry in the shower, and ask myself, why am I here? Why am I doing this? Because understanding why you're doing it is what will give you the sense of motivation to overcome the struggles and battles that you're going through. And for me, like I said, I have a strong support system. My faith with God and my family was what was grounding me. And it's the people, because I kept saying to myself, everyone that knows me, Ande, says, what's Olguy's philosophy? What is Olguy always saying? I like to see people healthy and happy. And anything that I can do and create to give people that, I want to do it. And here are these shoes that can give you that sense of health and happiness together. And that's what was pushing me through. Every time I wanted to say, Olguy, forget this, give up, I said, well, if you give up, your father gave up his dream to raise you. He could have said, nope, I'm going to give up on my kids and focus on this. He didn't. And everybody else in the world are depending on you. They might not say it, but they're depending on you. So that's what drove me. And you have to be okay. You have to find comfort in being uncomfortable, if that makes sense.
It is The bottom line. And folks, you do. I mean, certainly people try entrepreneurship and the founder journey, and it's not right for them. And there is nothing bad about that. That is a great thing to know. You can cross that off your list of things you want to know about yourself to increase your self-awareness. But if this is your journey, this is something you are very passionate about and committed to, please know that you can get comfortable with being uncomfortable. Doesn't mean that the pangs in the stomach really go away, but you know that it will pass, right, Olguy?
Absolutely. And you have to, it's something that I have to learn with myself because, as an entrepreneur, you go through these phases of depression. You go through these phases of feeling like you failed. It was hard on me. I lost friends. I lost my relationship because of the shoe, because I was supposed to be there for 3 weeks. I ended up being there for a year. The girl I was dating at the time was like, what? No, and that's where you have to really say, how bad do you want this? Yeah. What are you willing to give up? What are you willing to sacrifice? How comfortable are you being uncomfortable? And you have to have that grit. For me, it's the grit. It's seeing the end goal and saying, no matter how difficult it gets, if I'm breathing, if I'm moving, it's going to happen. It's going to get done. And that is the difference.
Wow. Stitch that on a pillow, folks. That is how it's going to get done. That's not what I'm stitching. What I'm stitching on there is the fact that Olguy talked about how you stay committed to the process. You have to fall in love with that process to make it work. And that means you have to be okay with the struggle. You don't have to love the struggle. You don't even have to like that part of it, but you have to be okay with it and at peace with the fact that you're going to get so many setbacks. They does not mean it's failure. It means it's a setback. And you're going to figure out. And Olguy, I got to thank you so much for joining me today, because you brought all the stuff that can happen to a founder, the impossible situations, the good, the wonderful, the family chipping in and making things happen, and the running into random acts of kindness, being open to having help come in unusual and remarkable and oh so divine ways for you and your business. And you gave us so many great examples along the way in this story. And I know you're going to inspire so many other founders to stick with it and hang in there and settle into it. I mean, you're going to, in Olguy's case, he was micromanaging and getting to the factory all the time, but he also settled into this role so that he could be an observer, is what I really mean. Is that a lot of times we get so into our business that we forget that it has its own entity. And the only way to really solve that problem is to step outside and go, and settle in. So I am so grateful. And I'm also grateful for this wonderful Founders Live, super duper special right here. I say Founders Live. Oh my gosh. Startup Life Live, exclusive. Folks, I will have the link in the show notes. You're going to hop on over to smthedifference.com and use the discount code Shamrock21, because you want to start running where you're not going to be hurting. Or you want to, if you're on your feet a lot and you're in the hospital setting, or you're at a restaurant, or you're a barista, right? You want to be comfortable. You don't want to get home and have your legs and body hurting at the end of the day. This shoe will help you do that. Any last thoughts for our viewers and listeners?
Oh, no, thank you. I just want to thank you for this opportunity. Number one, this was great. I love your personality and your energy. And for all the viewers and listeners, thanks you for tapping in. Like I said, this shoe truly is something different. And I'm always looking forward to getting feedback for people that have the shoes to how to make it better. This is our first version run. So any feedback to help us improve will be great. Design wise, what you'd like to see, different colors or whatever the case is. I'm always looking to how to make it better. So any feedback for those that do have it. Women's sizes do run small. So I will urge for my women out there, if you are going to order these shoes, order one full size up. They run small for women's sizes. Men's size do run true to size. So whatever size you wear as a male size, you can order them, no problem.
Excellent. Great information to have. You'll learn even more when you visit the website SM The Difference. Thank you for joining me. I'm going to pop you into the green room and say a final goodbye to all these wonderful people who tune in now or later. So thank you so much, Olguy.
Thank you.
did we not learn a lot from this amazing founder? That was incredible. This is true to life. I mean, his was at a larger scale, moving to China, having outside, environment and other things get in the way, but he stayed focused. And I will never forget the story, not just of the man who said, geez, are you okay? I've seen you here for 3 months. Are you okay? And turning out to be like a shoe expert. But then the gentleman who Olguy helped, and it turned out to be just the person he needed to get his shoes inspected, tested, and out of the country to the US. Like, that's mind-boggling. These are the miracles that can happen along the way that make this founder journey so amazing. So thank you for tuning into that. And be sure to reach out if you have any questions for Olguy. Just pop him. Well, you can reach out to him on his website, find him on social media. You can pop him into the comment threads. And I want to share with you who's coming on next on the Startup Life Live Show. Ta-da! It's Denise Kegler, and Denise is a remarkable woman. She's an award-winning communications, marketing, and brand strategist, and the founder and principal of MDK Brand Management, where she and her team craft compelling stories that help define, build, or restore a brand. So please tune in on Tuesday, March 16th, at 1 p.m. EST live. And the best way to know how each event that I have, you can hop onto our meetup group right here and visit bit.ly/Startup Life Live. So you are alerted every time I post a new show. Oh my gosh, I'm just like covered in goosebumps from the story with Olguy today. I'm excited to see you all next time. But a little something here for you to remember, okay? Which is promise that you'll remember you're braver than you believe. Oh, yeah. And as Olguy showed us, you're stronger than you seem and smarter than you think. You can solve the problems of your business and make things happen. How great is that? All right. So I'll see you next time, everyone. Thanks so much for tuning in and listening. Mwah! Wishing you a delicious day.